Welcome to Power of the Tribe podcast. I'm your host, John Connors. I'm also the founder and head instructor of Connors Martial Arts. We're right here in Norwood, Massachusetts. We teach Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, Muay Thai, kickboxing, mixed martial arts. We'll get you in shape. We'll get you feeling strong. We'll help you find your inner badass. And I'm here with my host, Dan Robin. How you doing, Dan?
Never been better.
Oh, my God. 7.2?
Isn't that an expression? No, I've been better. I've been a lot better. I'm just kidding. I've been a lot worse.
You've been worse.
I'm going to have to say about a 7 out of 10.
About a 7. Huh. Thought
I'd
you
say.
might. I got a 7 vibe from you. I'm probably about a 7 as well. I think I'm going to start adopting your method of ranking it. Yeah, I probably get a little too
I'm being a little optimistic. I try to be optimistic for the show. I could easily say 6.
You try to get up for the
yeah,
show.
I'm saying 7. Yeah.
Right. You got to get that optimal level of arousal for the show, right? Like you can't be too laid back, but you can't be too amped.
Yeah.
Right. I think you're optimal right now. You're pretty right there in that sweet spot.
I don't know.
So what else is going on?
Not too much.
Not too
I'm
much.
saying I'm secretly probably more of a 6. Been doing a lot of jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And so my neck hurts.
Your neck's a little sore.
I was thinking about that, about like our weird world we're in, and a lot of people listening are in, where so I took my daughter to the optometrist. I was actually just talking to you about that trip right before we went on air. That I
Is that where they asked what your hero was? Or no, that's the pediatrician.
That's the pediatrician.
Did they ask you any goofy questions at the optometrist?
No. Well, can you see this goofy?
No.
Okay, well then
that's related
then
to
it
the...
is.
Oh,
Then
good.
That's legit question. But they but the optometrist came in. I was thinking, and I think you'll relate to this.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people listening, she said something like, "How you doing?" She's very friendly.
Yep.
And I was like, my neck hurts. And she was like, you know what it's probably from? Like, you hold your phone down and you spend all day looking down at your phone.
I've heard this
And
theory before, yeah.
And I'm like, I think it's because a 240-pound man was choking me.
Trying to twist my head off.
Trying to twist my head off about 20 minutes ago. I'm guessing that is why my neck hurts more than the angle I'm looking at my phone.
And what did she say? I'm a doctor. You don't know what you're talking about.
Actually, I didn't actually even say that. I just said it's probably the phone. Because that's what I'm getting at. I think we have this weird world, which what's normal to us is so weird to other people.
Well,
I've had that with my throat before too, right? Where they're like, I'm like, my throat hurts, and they're like, oh, it could be there is a kind of a sore throat going around, and I'm like, yeah. Also, a guy was choking me on my back. I was on my back, choking me. And
guy was jamming his forearm into my throat for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Might have something to do with it.
I've had it. Yeah, I've had it. Haven't you had versions of this? Or maybe people know because you run a school, but I've had.
No, they don't know. People. I hate to say it because it doesn't sound good for business, but sometimes Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is like anti-chiropractic. You know what I mean? It's like we're going to take your spine and move it out of alignment. You know?
Yeah. I've had the chiropractor, like, number one piece of advice is like, stop doing what you're doing. They're like just weird. They're like, how did your rib get moved like that? And I'm like, yeah, who knows? And it's like almost like you'd have to be twisted this way and then have a force this way.
I didn't know any
that
better.
happened to me.
I would think somebody was twisting your chin this way while jamming your hip in the other direction.
Yeah.
That couldn't be possible. No, that was it.
But I had that with the same thing, same idea with chiropractors, where they'd be like, my back kind of hurts, and they'd say like, you know what can do it? You have a toddler at home? Just picking up the baby can do that. And I'm like, yeah, that and like some monstrosity tackling me and wrenching my head, and like
one of those.
I've had it with my arm and shoulder, a conversation where I was like, yeah, my arm's just bothering me. It was the same kind of thing. It was like, oh, I know it is from the snow shoveling. This was a recent one. You're like, oh, probably from the shoveling, right? I'm like, yeah, also guy trying to break it. Huge guy just trying to break it.
Well, when you train martial arts like this, I guess it is kind of extreme, and you don't realize it. It gets normalized, right? And there's other people out there who don't even work out, Dan.
Right.
Ever.
Yeah.
I went to the periodontist the other day. Anytime I go to any of these doctor, dentist, periodontist thing, I get so annoyed. It just the whole. It sounds like it happens to you too. There's something that happens that just annoys me.
Yeah, I'm trying to work on it, but
I'm trying to work on. I went and they go, you got to fill out these forms, and so they give you these papers, a pen, and a clipboard.
yeah.
And they're just asking you all the stuff they already have, all the shit they already have.
I
Your
used
name
to talk about that
and
for
address.
certain. I think it's gotten better recently, but there were certain doctors where, like I took all my kids to this one eye doctor, and I went, and it'd be filling out address, and I'd feel like I've probably given you my address 75 times, like literally. Like,
yeah.
why do I have to fill it out again?
It's insane. I think it's a stalling tactic because you
you
showed up
to-
on time and they're running late. So just give them some forms to fill out. That'll slow them down. It's like a speed bump, but it's aggravating. It's so annoying. So then I'm standing at the counter. I'm the only person there. It's late in the day. They're going to close in a half an hour. And I'm at the counter and there's a light shining down. She gives me the pen, and she is like so apathetic, this woman behind the counter. She's just annoyed that I'm there. And I start filling out the form. And she goes, could you sit down and fill it out?
Yeah.
Like I'm disrupting
Because you
everything
didn't sit
at the
down.
counter.
Yeah.
So now, and the lighting is not as good over there. So now it's harder to see. And I'm filling out my name, address, social security number, all this stuff that they already have. It's just maddening. And then she goes, the form underneath that is 2 sides. So I get through the first form, second form. You know what it asked me for?
The same stuff.
Yeah, my name and my
Yeah.
address. I took the clipboard, and for a moment, I was going to just snap it in half and just storm out, like end my whole periodontical episode.
Not to
career,
go on a
whatever.
tangent, but that makes me think of those moments of rage over like the clipboard.
Yeah.
I was thinking about that on the way in today because
Yeah.
I got here early, but I thought I was running late, and I got behind one of these minivans that was driving like
Dan,
really,
it's so
really
crowded
slowly.
right here today. Dimitri,
Yeah.
did you notice that when I was driving here, it was bizarre. It was like some movie of futuristic overpopulation. Like I couldn't even get down the street. It was bizarre.
Yeah, and that's what happens. Like, that's another thing. I'll be sitting there like, who are all you people? Like, it's 11:30 on this side road, and there's 20 cars
On a
like,
Friday?
yeah.
What, you have nothing better to do? Where are you? Don't you have a job? Shouldn't
But
you be working someplace?
I got behind this like slow driver,
Yeah.
and you get totally irrationally angry.
You
know,
can
I
go
t- I t-
bonkers,
I
right?
entirely get
Dan,
road
this
rage.
exactly happened to me yesterday. I drove over to Somerville, and I did a private lesson with Kru Mark Dellagrotte. Awesome. He's amazing, amazing teacher. And I drove back, like, through Brookline to get back here. I almost lost my mind. So many cars were out there with the the handicap thing hanging from the rearview mirror, and there were just these really old people, which, God bless them. I'm glad they're still plugging away.
So you're furious at the handicapped and the old? Is that
Just the old, actually. And it was just driving me. So one guy, a big white van, I'm sorry I stole your story here, and he's doing that whole thing, driving slow, and there's snow in the ground so they can take up 2 lanes somehow. And I finally get an opportunity to get by this guy. I drive by. And you know how when you're behind one of these terrible drivers that's just making you apoplectic, driving you insane? You want to know, like, who the hell is
Yeah,
this?
you always look.
Who is this maniac?
You
So
always
I want
look.
to get a good look at him. I drive. It's this really old guy. And Dan, he was eating soup while he was driving. He had a bowl and a spoon, and he's dry. I'm like, that's amazing. I never saw that before.
That's almost the better ending though, when you pass them there like texting or something, because then
Right.
you feel justified. You're like,
You're
I
right.
knew it.
I knew it.
I
You
knew it,
feel
you know.
morally superior.
But then other times it's like, a 16-year-old girl or something where you're like, oh boy, like maybe I should have given her a break, or like,
Right. I feel bad, too, when it's an older driver
Yeah.
because they're just trying the best that they can. But
yeah. But the anger is so much more than is called for. Like
Right.
for me, you know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
There's no reason to get that mad. And
Right.
I just get, and I was thinking about that I was just telling you again before on the air that I was getting angry at my daughter because I had to drive to school because she left something at home. The littlest thing, but it just caught me in this bad mood. Probably my neck hurts already.
Right.
And I'm just in a bad mood. And I was so angry on the way in. And I was thinking, though, there's a legit point here that if she was in the car then, like, I might have I might have been like, all right, give me your phone. Like, you don't have your phone. Like, she might have got punished. Or I might have been like, all right, you're grounded for the weekend, or something that was
You're grounded. I'm
that
annoyed.
was too that was too strong, and then I'm locked in once I say it, and then
Right.
it's like if I just waited 10 minutes, I would never have given that punishment. You know what I mean? Like I think a lot of people, you got to watch reacting when you're really mad. That's what road rage is, right? Like people fly out of their
Well, I
cars
have
and
a
fight,
theory.
and
I have a grand theory about road rage, Dion.
you do.
Yeah, I think it's time for our John's
We're
grand
already
theory
on
of
the
the
grand
week. Yeah. So I've thought about this a lot. So obviously, when you're in the car, there's a certain level of anonymity, right? So people are always more obnoxious online, internet, or in the car because
Whenever you're anonymous, 'cause
Yeah.
there's not consequence.
right, there's less social feedback, so you can get away with crappier behavior. But I also think, but it doesn't, there's more to it. So if I'm driving down the street and somebody cuts me off, so to speak, whatever that means, right? You get really mad, and one of the reasons why you get mad is because they almost killed you, or they could have killed you. So it's a survival instinct that kicks in. But there's also a social dynamic where you feel like you're socially slighted if somebody cuts you off. Like they're
an
acting
insult.
like they're better than you. So it's like that double insult. It like really kind of hits the selfish gene. You know what I mean? Where your survival and reproduction is being insulted when they cut in front of you like that. So it just causes this completely overreaching reaction where you get just so.
And then it
spinning mad.
escalates, right? Once someone's out of the car, then the other one's out of the car, and then
Right, then you beep,
can't-
and
you
then people
can't-
get mad at when you beep at them.
Yeah,
How dare you beep? It's an insult if
Yeah.
somebody gets. So I was behind another old lady yesterday. So I got around the soup guy, and then
you end up out of the car, the old lady,
no,
threatening.
no, I was right on. Where is it? You know where the Dedham Plaza is behind there? That's like Washington Street.
Sure.
And when you're coming from Dedham Square, there's a little weird light there now. You know what I'm talking about? And there was a really old lady that was in front of me, and we're at the light. Then the light turns green, and of course she doesn't have the reflexes of a younger person, so she's taking a little time to get off the thing. And I'm waiting, and I wait a little bit, and then I give a polite beep. You know what I mean? Because I want to beep but not be obnoxious. Has no effect. So then I give a bip, bip, bip. And then the guy behind me lays on the horn. So now she starts looking in the mirror. Now she's disoriented from the beeping. Like, what's that sound? Where's it coming from? And meanwhile, she's not going forward. And you can't get around her because there's like islands there. And she finally started creeping out into the intersection, and I managed to get around it. But yeah.
But that's the other thing I've never heard anyone, like the frame, like the leaning on the horn that's not you. Like someone won't go and the one behind you leans on the horn.
Right.
And then the person's like to you in the rearview mirror, and you have to be like, I'm not honking. Like
I'm not obnoxious. Yeah.
I don't lean on the horn ever, though. Are you a honker like that? I'll do the polite.
I try to do the polite.
I'll do the polite. I'm not like a big.
Yeah.
I don't get also when there's almost crashes and people are honking. It's like, don't you need your hands on the wheel?
I think it's a little dangerous, too. You're distracting somebody if you slam on the horn too much. It depends on the situation, right?
Yeah. But people are crazy with that. I've had people just going apoplectic at me for things that weren't even my fault. Like those things where they think it's your fault.
Ever do that where they're going crazy beeping and you actually don't know what's going on, like why they're beeping at you?
Yeah. Well, I don't even know if it's at me. That's the other thing.
Oh,
that
right.
There's honking going on, and you're like, is this at me or not?
Right.
But yeah. Losing your temper. I think it's a lot. It's that
Right.
impulse
So
control. It's a big thing.
I almost broke the clipboard at the periodontist. Then I recovered. And I said, all right, it went in there. The doctor was very good, did a good job. But the technology they have seems like it's from the 1800s. They're like, oh, you have some pockets inside your gums? I'm like, uh-huh. They go, so what we're going to do is we're going to rip them open, scrape the bone, and then slam them down and sew them back up again. And I'm thinking... You probably could do this in 1776, right?
Yeah, sounds like it. Did they have you bite down on a boot or something?
I think they numb you. So, like, that's
with
the
whiskey?
only.
They just have a slug of whiskey.
That's the only technological improvement and this guy's gone to dentistry school. He's studied for years, and you could probably learn how to do what he's going to do
just sew
in a day. You know?
And someone who knew how to sew could do it right now. But I can connect the two conversations with like. And I don't know if it's a legit connection, but us being like in the jiu-jitsu world versus the regular world, and you were saying some people don't even work out.
Right.
Some people. My experience with that was when I get cavities filled, they always say, they ask me a question about the Novocaine, and I'm like, can you do it without the Novocaine? Like, just do it.
They don't even understand the question.
And
they go, what do you want, heroin?
Yeah. They're like, what do you
Morphine?
mean? I'm like, just do it. Just fill the cavity. And I'm like, look, I'll tell you if it's bad, and they're like, all right. And I realized I came out of there. So anyway, I thought it was kind of normal. I was like, I don't need to be all numb for the next 6 hours if you can just fill it without that.
You're so right, Dan. Yeah.
But then I thought it was sort of normal. And then when I was leaving, I said, what percentage of people, get their cavities filled without the Novocaine? And they were like, no,
Zero.
0. They were like, you're the only.
Yeah.
And I had no idea that was true. I thought like that would be a normal thing people would ask for.
I think people,
because it doesn't hurt that. I'm not crazy. Like
You're
if
not
it was
crazy.
drilling
You're a
into
little
drilling into my nerve, I'd be like, well, don't do that.
Isn't he from another planet? We were thinking that he was from another planet.
But I was like, it's unpleasant. Like there's times where I'm like, ow, like like it.
So this is what they say to me at the periodontist. You're going to come in and have this procedure, and the woman says, make sure you eat right before you come in. I go, right before I come in? Why? She goes, well, you're not going to be able to eat for 2 or 3 hours. I'm like, what? Like that is the big concern, that God forbid you didn't eat for 3 hours.
Yeah, it's sort of the same theme,
So
right? I'm
weird,
like, are
right?
people out there that soft? Like,
Yeah.
like it's impossible
3
to get a
hours?
cavity filled
Yeah.
without getting a Novocaine, without getting a shot.
Dan,
Like,
make sure you
can't
load up on carbs
eat that-
before you go in there for that. So
Yeah, it's just
crazy.
like- and I
So
don't-
then they
yeah.
tell me afterwards. So they go, we're going to do this procedure in a couple of weeks. I go, okay. And she goes, and this woman hasn't worked out in her life, I don't think. And then she tells me this, and she's so happy to tell me. She goes, and you're not allowed to work out for 5 days afterwards. And I'm like, you're opening up my gum, scraping it. I'm like,
Why does that?
I'm
have
like,
to do?
what's going on? What are you talking about? You can't. I go, why? She goes, well, your heart rate will go up and your blood pressure will go up. I mean, when I'm working out, she says, yeah. I go, yeah. So, well, you can't have that. Why? She goes, well, you could get some swelling in the area. I go, uh-huh. She goes, well, it might bleed. I go, okay. She goes, well, there could be pain. I'm like, yeah, I don't care.
Yeah, it's all.
And she goes, wait a minute, let me get the doctor. Then she drags the poor guy back, and I have basically the exact same conversation with the guy. And I go, is it going to disrupt the procedure, not make it effective? And he's like, yeah, well, it might take longer to heal. I go, okay.
Yeah.
I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to leave here and work out strenuously immediately,
Right.
just to prove you fools wrong. Oh, my
But
God.
don't you think that's part of what I'm saying? Like this,
Yeah.
like them saying it could swell or bleed, or and you're like, something on me is always swelling and bleeding.
So weird,
I'm
right?
bleeding right now. My knees are bleeding. Like it's sort of like that, and that's I've been getting more. Just got back into jiu-jitsu when I haven't been doing it. And I'm in that phase of like getting in the shower and be like, ow, ow, like all the mat burns and the scrapes and the bumps and the bruises and to your point, most people don't have that. I guess
I guess not. No, I think what
so
happens.
there's other people other than jiu-jitsu that has it,
Right,
but
right.
not. But there are people that don't. A lot of people that don't.
I think there's a lot of softer people out there. I hurt my knee many years ago, like 15 years ago, maybe 20 years ago. And I went to my primary care physician, and my knee's all swollen and it's messed up. And I don't know what's wrong with it, but it's probably I tore some ligaments or something. And the guy is, they don't want to spend any money on you because it costs them, some HMO deal or something. And he goes, I could do an x-ray. I said, will that show my ligament damage? He goes, no. Well, let us know if your bones are broken. I go, well, I know my bones aren't broken. And so this guy basically tried to refuse to do anything for me. And then he said, well, I can give you such and such medication. And I go, okay, what'll that do? He goes, that'll reduce the swelling. And I said, will that heal the underlying issue? He goes, no.
Yeah.
I go, then why do I want to do that? He goes, well, you'll have less swelling. People like that. It's like people like to have less swelling. I'm like, yeah, I don't really care about the swelling. I just want my knee to work.
Right. But like your knee, like was it like appearance wise? It was like you don't want to have a swollen knee for like
that's what he was telling me.
aesthetics?
He was yeah. I don't know. I was like, yeah, I don't really care about so much about the swelling, and I almost don't even care about the pain. I just wanted to be able to work.
Right.
And that was baffling to him. He's like, most people just care about the pain and the swelling. They don't really care about anything else.
My jiu-jitsu injury that was makes most of the civilians that don't do it like cringe. Although I guess people that do jiu-jitsu cringe at this one too, just because of the specifics of it. But it's like, you know, the heavy, it's the mats you have in the gym now, and it's back, but it was back in the other gym. But the and I'm sure I told you about this, but the little crack between them, I somehow
You got your toe jammed in a crack?
yeah, I somehow the toenail, my big
right.
nail of my big toe.
You ripped
Like,
that off?
I put so if you picture like kneel and like putting my knee like forward onto the mat, and somehow the tip of my toenail got stuck in the crack, and I pried it right off. Like I just popped
That's awesome.
the thing right off. And what happened was it flopped right back onto my toe. So I was like, ow, you know, and then I looked back down, and like all I see is like a little blood
on the edge.
a little blood on the edge. I was rolling with Paul Rowe.
To be fair, Dan, you could have done that doing yoga, though.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not really a jiu-jitsu related injury.
It seems less likely for yoga, but
yeah.
but it was one of those things where I'm like, my toe, and we look, and there's like a little bit of blood. So Paul's looking right at it. He's like, it doesn't look that bad. And then I, put my finger on the end of it and just lift the whole nail up and off it. It's like this bloody mess underneath. And
You're like, well, that's not good.
Yeah, even Paul was like, he's just like, like looking, like covering his eyes. But again, I don't know. It's you know how it is on the mat. You're just sort of, you're in whatever adrenalized mode where things don't hurt as you're just getting hit and
they
popped
often
so
don't
much
hurt as much, and then later you feel it. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was another one though where I'd tell the story and I'd get sort of like, "What did you do?" And I'm like, well, "I didn't do anything. I think I stopped the roll.
Some tape on it. I
Put
guess.
the tape. Yeah." It's sort of like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do, go screaming and running around in circles, or, it's just like, ow, what do I do? Nothing.
Yeah, that's one of those things that if you went to see a medical professional, they probably don't do anything for you, right? Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's most things. My real bad injury was my ribs.
All right.
Where I just landed rolling with someone very big, and
yeah,
I actually landed, his knee was on the mat, and my ribs landed on his knee in like a tumble kind of, you know what I mean? Like, so it hit and it really hurt. And this was early jiu-jitsu for me. So now I'd have stopped, but back then I was still kind of proving something. And I'm like, I can keep rolling, even though I was like burning pain in my ribs. And then that got worse. The next day I was like, I was lying in bed thinking, how am I going to get up? Because it just hurt too, you know what I mean? I couldn't, it hurt too much to get up. But what they said was, they'll take an x-ray, and if it's not puncturing your lung, like it's not a broken rib that's into your lung, then they do something.
Yeah, if it's actually
barring that.
Yeah, if it's fractured but not poking in your lung, they're not going to do anything, right?
Yeah. And I think that was the time I was like, this can't be good. I was pushing it, and it was like moving, like ribs. It was moving, like visibly moving back and
not
forth.
supposed to do that.
Yeah, I was like, that doesn't move. But then the same thing, I was like, I'm sure there's something medically to be done, but it was like, if it's not puncturing your lung,
right,
nothing gets done.
I think that's one of those weird places where there really isn't anything that can be done that's going to be better than just letting it heal on its own.
I think so. I think, is there a way?
Because you don't want to constrict the expansion of your chest, even.
But they can get popped out of place, I think, and get kind of like a chiropractic kind of move back into place.
Maybe, yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what to make a chiropractor,
maybe.
So I don't
know. I think it's such a big field. It's a little like saying martial arts or yoga.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different practitioners doing different things, and with different promises of benefit and whatnot,
So yeah, I don't know, is this a bad selling point, like for like jiu-jitsu?
I think injuries. I think 5 people just quit already.
This is over years, I should say.
It's over years.
This is over years,
right?
And I think people used to roll a little rougher.
Yeah,
I don't know. Is that fair to say? Like, I think it used to be.
I definitely think
thought of as more.
I try to structure things to keep it as safe as possible.
Yeah,
yeah.
Because I think it used to be part of, like, not routinely, but someone will get hurt, and I don't see people getting hurt at all now.
Not
You
so
know?
much.
I mean, of course it can happen, but you
Right.
like stop the class. Someone's hurt. Someone's down.
Everybody's
know?
different.
Yeah.
Did I ever tell you about a guy that used to train with us? I don't know if you remember this guy. And his name, I called him Quesadillas.
I feel like I remember.
So
the
this
nickname,
guy
but I
was a
don't really
rare
know.
person that would. I think he had a black belt in Kempo or something. He would come in with this Kempo gi on, and he was a nice enough guy, kind of odd, but he was like a screamer. So he
Oh.
would he had like a martial arts countenance, and he carried himself that way. But if he had some kind of pain, he would like just scream, just yell out. So one day, with these people, everybody's training, and a couple came in, a married couple, and they were like, "Yeah, we think we want to try this. This sounds interesting." And I'm in my whole spiel talking about how safe it is and how excellent. And this guy Quesadillas just lets out this blood-curdling scream, "Ah!" And like the whole room stops. And it's a sound. So you look over at the guy, and you're expecting to see,
Yeah, like a
his femur burst through his
yeah,
thigh.
like the
You know what I
Gordon
mean?
Hayward foot, or
Yeah, like a Joe Theismann
Yeah.
injury. And he goes, "I'm all right." He had a momentary experience of what somebody had mounted him, and they grapevined his legs, and there was a little twisting of his legs. It just caused some pain in
So
his
you
knee
should
or
pretty
something.
much
He
never.
screamed.
I would say you should never have a scream followed by "I'm all right." Like you shouldn't. Like that should never. You shouldn't have those two things in a row.
You're a little miscalibrated if you're scream. Dan, when I say scream, I don't mean like a
yeah.
yelp. I don't mean like whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, "Ah!" And oddly enough, that couple did not sign up for
I
lessons.
just probably walked right out. But I was just talking about it yesterday about how my take on it is, I appreciate people that apologize. So someone again just like hit me in the face or something, elbowed me in the face, and,
Accidentally while they were
It's-
rolling with you. Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, did I just elbow you in the face? Sorry." And I appreciate that they apologize.
They
But-
recognize it.
yeah.
Yes.
I appreciate that. At the same time, I don't think I get irritated by anyone that complains about it unless it's really irresponsible. Like if someone's flailing around badly
right.
or malicious. But anything accidental and then someone complains, I don't like that. It's
I
sort of
think
like,
it's tricky,
It is a
Dan.
martial art.
It is a martial art.
You're supposed to, part of the game is sometimes you get elbowed
Yeah.
or, if it's an accident, it's an accident,
It's simulating fighting. So I totally agree with you. And what I basically will accept whatever anybody's doing to me.
Yeah.
And I don't care because I'm a martial artist. I should be able to cope with it and protect myself. So I don't care if people are trying to jam their elbows in my throat or whatever the hell they're doing. I'm just going to deal with it.
I agree. And actually, from a practical standpoint, if that throws you off so badly, then when it comes to either a competition or a real life situation, you're not
Right.
prepared, right?
You're not
because
prepared,
if you're going to be completely startled by
Right.
any real energy or and getting elbowed in the face suddenly shuts you down,
Yeah.
then you're not properly prepared.
I totally agree. Years ago, it was probably 10 years ago or so, I was rolling with Javi, and he reached out to grab my neck or something, and his thumb just pushed my eyeball all the way back in the socket, man. I mean,
You actually felt it.
Yeah. And I saw this huge spark, and I was like, oh, my God, and super painful. And I just kept my eyes closed, and I kept rolling with him for another 10 minutes without opening my eyes. And I couldn't open my eyes. I couldn't open the other one really that much either because,
Right.
your eyes are sort of in sync. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can't move them completely independently. So it hurts so bad if I move my eyes underneath my closed eyelid, just the eyeball rubbing the inside of the eyelid was excruciating. And
That's miserable.
it was brutal
Well, how long was it like that for?
for, I think, 24 hours. Yeah. I'd try to go home and go to sleep, and I would nod off. My eyeballs would move, and it would shake me up out of sleep.
That's miserable.
And tears were pouring
So
out
there's
out
no
of my face.
there's no getting away from it, right? Like you couldn't
No
even
getting away
sleep.
for it. But after about 24 hours, it seemed to heal. It seemed to not be so uncomfortable. But it was an accident, and then
Yeah.
I just dealt with it. So yeah. So if I ever get assaulted on the street and somebody thumps me in the eye a little bit,
You're ready.
I'll probably have had that experience before. I'll be better prepared. But I do think, though, if somebody has a significantly higher rate of quote unquote accidents than somebody else, they have to start to take responsibility for what they're doing, and like maybe they have to change, the method and the tempo or whatever it is that's causing the problem. You know what I mean?
Right.
You just can't be like, hey man, I just get in a lot of accidents.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not cool. Yeah.
I had one where it's been a while, but my last bad black eye,
Mm-hmm.
like a major, like not like a little, like a
Right.
And it was the funny thing. It was Carlos, who's like one of the nicest guys in the gym, like just a great guy. But
I don't know about that. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, of course, he's the greatest.
But he used to roll. I think also if he was newer, same thing. We roll more,
Energized. More,
like I said, I think we all used to.
adrenalized,
I think we all used to back then. And so he just turned, and his elbow, just full on. It was like thud, like enough again to give me a big black eye for like a week. And the funny thing about that was he hit me, and then he's like, he just saw like really, really hard, and he turns like, oh, did I catch you? I'm like, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that huge impact that like made everyone turn and look. Yeah, you caught me. As my eye like slowly swells shut. But I think again, and then you're walking around with a black eye, and again, everyone that's has been through this in jiu-jitsu knows you can't really explain it to people. You almost have to be like, it's like a domestic abuse where you have to be like, I walked into a door, or like, because you can't, because the first thought is like, were you in a fight?
Right.
Which, if you're a suburban dad, like it's pretty inappropriate, or,
right.
So that looks bad. But then, so you go, no, it's not a fight. It's just that I do this martial art, I do jiu-jitsu and MMA, and then you realize that like they think that's even worse. Like, a lot.
That's worse than brawling.
Yeah,
in
a lot
the
of
streets.
people are like, you do what? At least back then. Again, I think it's changing, but it used to be like, it's like, what? Why are you a suburban dad doing this? And it's, again, this is all of a theme. I guess it's the theme of the day of like being in jiu-jitsu compared to outside of it, and things you get used to and things that are normal to you. They're not normal to anyone else. Like you would not even, none of us would notice cauliflower ear barely now, and then outside you leave the gym and you're at a barbecue and people are like, what's with his ear, or what's going on there? Like it's like not in their world. They're not used to it. Or they think it looks really bad, or to us it's nothing.
I don't even notice it at all.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't even know who in the gym has it or doesn't really, unless it got really, really bad.
My son actually has pretty significant cauliflower ears. He's really only been training for 3 years or so. I think he started in February 3 years ago. But I think he just put so many hours in on, like he never really took a day off, that it just accumulated quickly. Yeah.
Yeah. You think that's what is consistent training, or?
Yeah. And the style and whatever. Yeah. Like mine used to be worse, but now I make a concerted effort to not let anybody grab my head. So I think my ears
clearing up.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know. Yeah, but I don't even notice it at all. Yeah.
Right. And then it's sort of a badge of honor for some people in the gym.
Right. When I was a white belt, it was like a little bit of badge of honor. Yeah. When my ears started getting a little thick, I was like, oh, wow. Must be really doing something. Yeah. Occasionally we'll have people stop us. My son and I were in Whole Foods. And this little guy with completely cauliflower ears goes, hey, you guys wrestle?
Yeah.
And he was an old wrestling coach, retired wrestling coach. And I forget where he coached, maybe BU or BC. And he was like a career wrestler. Yeah. Nice guy. And a very successful guy. He spotted our ears. Yeah. And we see him occasionally there. And it's like you have this connection now because of your ears with somebody. Yeah.
And that's, since we're talking about, let's have a positive spin on that, like that community of jiu-jitsu. I've heard that a lot for people too, that there is that bond, right? Like you can go to another city or another state, especially the young guys, and just go to another gym, and like there's a camaraderie. Most of them will welcome you in. Yeah. Most of them will be friendly.
It's pretty cool. Yeah, I get a sense of satisfaction if somebody's visiting from out of town and they come in and they train with us and they enjoy it and say, wow, you guys were cool. This was a great experience.
Yeah.
That makes me happy that,
Yeah, and I've had that even just like watching UFC in a bar, and then you talk to someone, and then you realize they're like, "Oh, I'm a purple belt," and you're like, "Oh, wait, you really know?
you know what the hell you're talking
You know
about.
what you're talking about?" But that's 10 times that will be someone talking authoritatively, and then you realize quickly it's something that you can't fake knowing if you haven't done it. Like pretty soon you out yourself, right? You just say something that you're like, "What are you talking about?" Just they're watching the screen and like, "Oh, you should armbar or something." It's like from bottom of mount. Like, what do you like? You can't armbar them from there. Like if you don't know what you're saying, usually you notice it pretty quickly, and that's far more common
Do you think,
for me.
Oh, right. It's funny now because we're in the social media world. There is more pretending, I think, than there was, but you can also get called out on your pretending more easily now, right? Really weird world right now.
But live, like at the events or in a bar watching an event, like then there's no one really to call you out. You know what I mean? There's not like the masses to hear you. There's only a few people. So people.
I've noticed, I don't know if I said this on this podcast before, that at live events, typically the person who's screaming with the most bloodthirsty intent is the person that's the furthest away from actually having the experience of being in the cage. So it's somebody who has never trained or never will train, doesn't fight. You know what I mean? There's somebody who's just like, they're never going to have that experience, and they are just fearless and ferocious in their yelling and whatever they're saying. They want blood. And,
I do think for anyone who's not been to an event, my experience, even more so local, maybe you'll disagree, but there's a lot of people. Well, so there's two things. There's UFC events and then there's local events. So the UFC event has a downside of what you're saying, of a lot of people bloodthirsty, screaming.
Casual fans.
Never knowing what they're talking
foolish,
about.
Yeah.
They'd probably rather see like two drunk guys brawling. And like I've been at events, again, minimum ticket price $200, and a fight breaks out in the stands and everyone's watching that fight when there's like a professionals fighting right this far away.
Where do people get all the money to pay for these events? It's crazy, right?
I said that when I was in Philadelphia, we were in $600 seats. And
Wow.
two guys,
for UFC?
Yeah. Two rows.
Wow.
It was BJ Penn against Kenny Florian. And then like 2 rows or 3 rows behind us, like two people before the fight started, like one of them threw up all over himself and they both passed out. They were both lying there unconscious in vomit. And I'm like, That's $1,200 well spent. And they got like escorted out and like someone had to come clean it up. I'm like, so those guys came up with $1,200.
Don't you wonder, like, how did they do that?
Yeah, I know.
To go back to the road rage, that's what I often think when I'm driving behind somebody who's either driving, like, usually it's a really expensive Mercedes, and they're so incompetent, like they can barely get the car down the road. And I'm like, how did this person amass the resources to get this vehicle? They're a moron.
They don't have the ability to drive it.
Their ability to drive is so low, it makes me question their ability to do anything. But they somehow have gotten, $100,000 together to get this car.
Yeah.
How did they do that? It's like those guys, how did they get $1,200?
Yeah, no, you should pull up at a light and just like ask them. Just be like, roll down the window.
Inheritance? What's going on here? Yeah.
I've been in traffic. That's what I've wanted to do, is like, who are all you people?
Right.
I used to get so mad. Now I'm part of the problem, but it used to be when I used to have to work, it was like 7 to 7.
Yeah.
And then the one day off, and like, you get to go home at 1, and then you're in a traffic jam at 1, and you're like, who are all you people? How do you get to be here at 1?
How is the traffic in Boston, the area? Do we have bad traffic around here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and around here too.
Well, I do everything off peak because I can, and it's so much better. Yeah, I can't imagine fighting through rush hour traffic every day.
Yeah, I thought about that too. When you do, you have to get to the airport and you're stuck in rush hour, and you're like, most of these people are here every day, right?
Yeah.
Logically, they do it every single day.
That's particularly frustrating.
There's got to be a way to not do that, right? There has to be.
Right. Not cool. Yeah.
All right. So, jiu-jitsu injuries.
Jiu-jitsu
Jiu-jitsu camaraderie. I still can't tell if that was bad press for the gym. So for not the gym.
You can't
but
tell?
jiu-jitsu.
It was
Jiu-jitsu.
terrible press for the gym. That was anti-press.
But I think again we should emphasize, I don't see a lot of injuries now. You know,
No, it's
and
not
especially if you're someone that shows up and doesn't want to be injured. You know, like doesn't want to go
Right.
super hard. I think anyone that gets hurt now, and maybe even including me back in the old days, like we all went so hard. And I think that's all eased off. I'm on opposite end of the spectrum now. I'll go real slow and real. I don't
Right.
want to get hurt. You know,
No.
you know. So, or let's. Here's another good way of putting it. Is like I've been doing this many years now, getting older, and like I have no significant injuries. You know what I mean? Like I had the
don't-
gruesome tail of my toenail and like my wrist,
Right.
but I'm fine. You know,
I'm
nothing.
fine.
Yeah.
I have good mobility in my whole body. I've never had any surgeries, really, on any of my joints or
Yeah,
anything.
man.
I feel fine. I feel better than ever. I remember before I started jiu-jitsu, I was at the weightlifting all the time. It was like 35. When I'd wake up in the morning, I'd be so stiff, Dan. I like had to sit on the edge of my bed to put my pants on. And I thought, well, this is what happens when you get up there. When you get to 35, you start getting older. So crazy, right? How you can delude yourself into thinking what's normal when it's really not normal at all.
Yeah.
You know?
I thought that about aging though too. Starting at what like 30, everyone starts talking about how old they are,
That's so annoying.
and then and you look back now when then at 40 you're like I was complaining at 30, and then at 50 you're like I was complaining at 40. So I'm trying to not do that now. I don't want to be 70 going like why was I complaining about being 50, or you know what I mean? Like I don't.
Right. Do you ever think I look back at myself? And I would have the perfect advice for myself when I was 20, 25, 30, 35, the whole way. And I wish I could somehow project myself
what's that advice
20
gonna
years
be?
in the future and give myself advice right now. I wonder what it would be. Probably to stay as healthy as you can. Take it easy on yourself.
Stop getting enraged at the elderly and
Stop
the
getting enraged
handicapped.
at periodontist.
Yeah.
I do like my dentist, Chestnut Hill Dental in West Roxbury. They're very, very nice
Chestnut
people.
Hill?
Yeah.
Wait, I go to
It's on
Chestnut.
VFW Parkway is the one I go to. So nice to me.
I actually go to Chestnut Dental too, but a totally different one.
Yeah,
you
this is
know.
Chestnut Hill Dental.
Yeah.
Yeah. They do a great job. They're super nice to me. Yeah.
It's hard to get. I just like each of these things in your life. If you can get a dentist you like, or a doctor you like, or a plumber you like, or an electrician you like, it's really valuable. I don't have almost any of those now.
Right.
You know.
Yeah.
I don't know if that says something about me.
I don't know.
I remember years ago I had that run-in with the guy who came to clean my dryer. Do you remember that story from?
No.
It was like a while ago now, but this is an
Did
example.
he
maybe
tell you to sit down because he
No,
couldn't see or something?
no,
No,
maybe-
that's a concert. No, go ahead.
No, this was.
He
it was
came to
just-
fix
no,
your
my
clothes dryer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just the dryer didn't.
I didn't even know they did that.
The dryer. Yeah. Well, the heat stopped. Everything worked except the heat. So it was like
kind of
before
an
fixing
important
it, maybe
element,
there's
yeah.
some way to. So, in the end, I was like, "Oh, so do you know?"
Who'd you call?
I don't remember.
Okay.
It's been so long.
So the guy showed
I think
up?
Some technician.
Okay.
Yeah, he showed up. He fixed it, and the whole idea is I just wanted to know what happened. You know, I said, what went wrong? You'd think this wouldn't be a problematic conversation.
He would
right?
just say,
Yeah.
you burnt out your element. We just needed to replace that
Yeah.
part. Now
Yeah.
it's fine.
Which is almost what he said.
Uh-huh.
But then he said, "Look, the element burnt out. Usually that's because you really got to clean out the
filter.
the lint before each
Yeah.
dry." And I always do
Okay.
every single time.
All right.
So I was like, "Well, no, I do that. So could it be something else like that caused it?
Mm.
You know, like what other cause could there be?" And he was like, "Well, generally it's the lint. Like you really got to get it every single time because that's really bad." And I was like, "No, I do. So what, could there be something else that would
Mhm.
cause it, that I should watch
Mhm.
out for
Mm-hmm.
or that I should change, that I could be doing wrong?"
So this guy thought you were a lint denier.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what escalated. He's like, that's how it escalated. He's like, "Yeah, the thing is, like, you really got to get it every time." And I'm like,
And people
I'm like,
say
"Look,"
that they get the lint.
that's what he said.
But
he goes, "What I found is, even the people that say they do it every time are not doing it every time. And I reach where I'm like, look, you know, like, say someone did clean it out every time. Could there be something else that caused it that's not the lint? If somehow someone was cleaning it, is there any other possible? And he's like, I think it's probably the lint. And I'm like, say lint to me again. Like, say lint to me again.
What is that scene from what is that movie?
I don't know which one.
With John Travolta.
Or Goodfellas, or the I can't remember which scene you're talking about.
And he says, say it to me one more time. And, and he's going to blow his brains out.
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction. Yeah.
That's how I felt. Yes. That's how.
What was the word in Pulp Fiction that he was saying?
What?
Say what? One more time.
Yeah. That's how I felt. Say lint again.
I'm going to blow his brains out.
One more time. See this image of me with like my wife coming down. I've got the lint trap jammed down his throat. Me just looking up her like, what? Be like, this is hard to explain how we got here.
So how did it de-escalate? What happened?
It didn't de-escalate.
No.
It just escalated.
And then what?
Just me like, you have to go. Like,
get
just
out of
like
here.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I've calmed down a bit over the years, though. I think I have less and less of those kind of things. I
totally get it, though, because you're asking a very simple question.
And I didn't see people take the story wrong. They think of it. Even people I've told that story remember it as he said the lint and then I flipped out. But it didn't work that way. I was perfectly cool about it.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I hear where you're coming from.
It's a whole process.
Yeah.
Build up.
Exactly.
So do you do a better job of cleaning lint now?
I already was doing a good job, John. I didn't need to do a better job.
This guy is gaslighting you. Holy cow. That is so annoying. Oh, yeah, I'd be right there with you, man. Yeah.
So then, see, this is my problem. I run through. And then I get mad about...
See, what I would do now is, this happens to me, before they come, I anticipate something like this is going to happen.
Prepare?
Yeah, I'm like, I'm going to get annoyed. They're going to... And so then when it does that, though, I'm very happy.
Maybe that's what I should do. Sort of like meditate ahead of time. Like, this is going to be a problem. Just or picture.
No, I don't think you should do that. Yeah, no, I don't think it's gonna help.
But I've had and the I don't like that when they don't call me back and that's kind of stuff. So I'm always irate and like getting rid of people, like electricians that I'm like, hey, I got.
Yeah, people are different now. People don't feel like they're obligated to respond to phone calls or text messages anymore, right? Really weird. Yeah.
Yeah, it irritates me. Is that old fashioned of me?
I'm right there with you.
Especially
I find
a lot of times it's like just shoot a 2-second message back like, hey,
how about when somebody sends you a text message, Dan, and then you get it beep, and it's going to be a complicated answer, so you call them and they don't pick up. I mean,
occasionally they could have a reason, but that's
kind of
pretty
like a
rare.
big FU, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that annoys me. Yeah. Well, I don't
Maybe
want.
We're just dated now.
I think we are, but I don't want to get off on a tangent. But maybe we'll talk about it next week. But I'm removing all the disagreeable people from my life. I think I told you all about that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about that now, or you want to?
I think we don't have enough time. No.
Next week, disagreeable people.
So disagreeable people are people who don't want a fair exchange. They don't want a 50-50 deal with you. They want they get 90, you get 10. And
they're never satisfied with them.
Yeah. And even if they get 85 and you get 15, they feel like you screwed them over and they're disgruntled. So I've been floating this by people that I'm slowly removing these highly disagreeable people from my life. And then I ask people occasionally, not you, because but I say, what do you think about that? Is there any downside of getting rid of disagreeable people in my life? And most people aren't answering me, Dan. They're like afraid to answer. I don't know if they think it's a trap, and I'm going to say, you're one of them. Get out of my life. But they don't. They go, I don't know. But is there any downside to removing highly disagreeable people from your life?
First of all, I like the idea that whoever you're talking to thinks you mean them. Because everyone's walking around going, am I disagreeable? I could be.
It's so hard to tell, right? Yeah. Here's the thing. I think when you are disagreeable, you think you're being perfectly reasonable. So the question is, how do I know if I'm disagreeable or agreeable? And I have an answer. Right. I think agreeable or above average agreeable because I have so many disagreeable people in my life. They wouldn't be
You
in my
tolerate
life.
them.
Yeah, you attract them. So, because you'll tolerate less than a 50-50 exchange. But I'm trying to change that. I'm trying to beat my genes, go against my
Your instinct.
my personality that I was born with. Yeah, and reject these people. What do you think?
Yeah, it's a good idea. I think we
Yeah.
talked one time, not on the podcast, but about there is some benefit. I can't remember what it was.
What's the
but
benefit?
There was some benefit.
I'm trying to figure it out.
It was like that they.
They're not
They-
wishy-washy. When somebody's too agreeable, they're not. They don't bring anything interesting to the party. You know what I
Maybe
mean? They're
yeah,
just
maybe
like,
that there's somewhat
I don't know.
interesting
Whatever you
people or
want to
something,
do,
yeah.
I'll watch anything. What do you want to eat? I don't know.
So I guess that's
Yeah.
the only thing is just make sure it's only the extremely disagreeable people, like a
Right.
little disagreeable maybe.
One other thing I'll
Gladness is
say
it.
about this, I read an article about this, and I heard it on a podcast coincidentally just this week, that Stone Age people, this is the theory they had, would get rid of highly disagreeable people, like kill them. Like the tribe would get together, and I
Just throw
think
'em
they
off a
see with
cliff.
other primates. Yeah, they would just get them out of the gene pool. And the theory is that's why, I don't know if this makes any sense, there's only 1 out of 100 people are sociopathically narcissistic and disagreeable.
Because they get thrown off a cliff.
Because we've kind of got them out of the gene pool. But we're not doing that anymore. We're not throwing people off
Yeah,
cliffs anymore.
Just to be clear, you're
Yeah.
not saying you're going to do that. Right?
No,
You're not
I would never advocate violence against people. No. I'm just
You're
like
just out of your life.
out of my life. Exactly. Yeah. But I am concerned where if we were removing people from the gene pool and we're no longer doing that, are we going to evolve to be even more disagreeable than we are right now?
Seems to be headed that way.
Yeah.
So you're saying more people should be thrown off cliffs.
I don't know. I don't advocate that. No, definitely not. But I think I'm enjoying this getting the disagreeable people out of my life thing. I think it's good. It's
Yeah,
gonna
but
be
what if
good.
you get them all out? Are you going to be like just keep lowering the bar till you're getting more and
Oh.
more?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, I don't know.
It's only
We'll
a
see.
low number. So how many disagreeable people are we talking about? Just to give an idea, you mean?
I think we're talking about 3, 4, 5,
Yeah,
something
so-
like
all
that.
right.
Yeah.
So just the very edge.
Yeah.
All right.
But you're right. I'll probably recalibrate and just start till I'm sitting at home all alone, This-
Now.
drooling old man. Yeah, I'm practically there now. I know. All right, Dan. I think we have to wrap it
Yeah,
up.
we
We
just-
just had another brilliant podcast. You are
Jiu-jitsu
possibly the
injuries.
greatest podcaster in history. Yeah, and we talked about jiu-jitsu this time.
Yeah, that was the goal, right?
I guess so.
To-
Yeah.
Sometimes talk more about you.
We were really well prepared.
Yeah.
I wrote up notes, prepare right, podcast right. We didn't look at any of it. I think we talked about a little bit maybe, but yeah. But that's the way we roll, and it's great.
All right.
So I hope people please rate and review this podcast. Please share it with your friends, and tune in again next week. We'll talk to you then. Take care.